All right, guys, it's getting a little warmer outside, and it's time to get this emergency brake cable tightened up, because hopefully we're just a few weeks away from getting this thing back down on the ground and maybe going for a drive. So let's get to it. Okay, I've got a floor jack in the back of the car. I've got it on jack stands, and I've got 2 sets of jack stands on each side because I don't want to get crushed. So I'll always usually have a couple of sets of jack stands under this. I'm going to get these bolts on the drive shaft loosened up and taken out, and then I'm going to get the back end lifted up a little bit more so none of the fluid will drain out of the transmission when I take this out of there. I'm not sure if I'll have to take it out, but I'll be ready just in case I do. I think I can hopefully just let the back end of the drive shaft drop down, and that'll hopefully let me get up into the top side of this and get to those nuts that I have to back off to tighten up the cables on the emergency brakes. So I'll be right back when I get. Now hopefully I can just use a pry bar to keep the drive shaft from rotating, so I can keep the emergency brake off, so that I can rotate this around to get all the bolts. So it's a lot of hoping. Okay, let's see if we can get them broke loose. And with the red Loctite, these are pretty hard to get off of here, so it's going to take a few minutes. Oh, wow. Oh, jeez. Let's see if I can get a socket on here. All right, that seemed to work better. So with the drive shaft still in the transmission, it does look like I'll be able to get to these nuts. Okay, so these are 1/2-inch nuts. You can see I've got 3 of them on here. And I always like the idea of being a little safer, but when you got to take them off, it's just a little extra pain in the butt. So I'll get these loosened up and backed out. I got the 2 backup nuts loosened up, and getting ready to start tightening the one down that's, right here next to this bracket. So I'll start tightening it this direction to pull these cables a little tighter, and then I just have to bring those other 2 backup nuts up and tighten them down, and that way it won't loosen up on its own. And we're all done. I tightened it up a good bit, and I won't have to pull the emergency brake handle up near so far to get the brakes engaged. Before I did this, I had to pull it up as far as I could get it, and then it still every now and then wanted to back up or roll down the driveway because I have a steep driveway. So it's the first time I think I've ever had to adjust this since I did the 5-lug and disc brake conversion. So that's been 3 years ago, and it just was time to tighten it up a little bit. Since I broke all these drive shaft bolts loose. I'm going to clean them all up with my wire wheel here and then put some new red Loctite on before I put them back in. Guess it's a brand new tube. I haven't cut into it yet. Okay, so I just let gravity let that flow down around all the threads. I just put it in one little line and it'll just run through all the way around on its own. So let's get them back in there before it sets up. All right, it's important to put your drive shaft back exactly in the same location, and so you don't want to get vibration if you've used it and you then take it off but don't put the bolt holes in exactly the same spot on the diff. You can have problems, so I just made sure to remember exactly how I laid it down, and I didn't turn it until I lifted it back up in place. So we'll get these bolts all hand started and then get them torqued down. Well, let's see. We'll see how well that holds it when I go to tighten up the bolts now. Well, I just rotated it to get the other two bolts down at the bottom, and then I put the brake back on. There we go. All right, when you go to do your final torque on these, check your manual's information for your specific year. For mine, it's 70 to 95 foot-pounds. Since you're using a swivel, you're going to lose some torque, so I set mine towards the 85 to 90, up towards the upper end, because I know I won't get quite that much with the way I have an extension and a swivel. So that's what I did, but you got to check your own information out, because it can change, I think, from year to year. All right, so in order to get the bolts out of the drive shaft by the rear diff, I used a swivel that was attached directly to the impact gun, and then I had a short extension, and then a 12mm necked down socket. So having it necked down thinner is the key for something like this to fit, because there's not hardly any room to get on the heads of those bolts. If you don't have something like this, then the best thing is an angled wrench like this, and again, a 12mm end, and as long as you can get them broken free, you may need to add another wrench to the end of this, or a tube or something to give you more leverage. I had trouble getting some of mine broke free because I have red Loctite on them, and fortunately I had this to get them broke free with an impact. Don't use an impact to tighten them up. When I was doing the emergency cable, really your best bet is a ratcheting wrench like this. Again, this was a 1/2 inch. This would not be on a stock style emergency brake cable. I've converted mine to the rear disc brakes. That's why I have the adjustable threaded rod up there that allows me to tighten these cables up. But the key is to have one of these where you can clean through past the nut you're on in order to get to the other nut inside. That way you don't have to take all the nuts off of the threaded rod altogether, and you can leave them there to save some time. But some of these has an edge on one end where you cannot pass through all the way. So depends on what you have, but that's a great way to tighten up your nuts on the emergency cable rod. All right, all. I know that wasn't too big of a project. For most people, not that difficult. I wanted to get this done soon because we're in March now and it'll be in the 60s here later this week. Won't be getting it down on the ground quite yet, but just around the corner, and this is one less thing I have to worry about before I can start driving it, and just makes me feel better that it's finally done. So I will talk to everyone later. Hope you have a great rest of your day.